So I'm just gonna open up this conversation in a good way and just light a little bit of sage. It's really important for me to carry out the things that make me feel well. Thank you, Creator, for allowing me to continue on this chosen path. Allow me to use my knowledge and wisdom to see, hear, and speak good things. Bless my heart and all that it cares for, the land, the people, everything between earth's skies, or between the skies and earth's crust. Allow me to continue to walk with my head high and with humility at my side, blanket and cover me in your guidance. So, Ani bonjour, Nenookaasi Indigenous, Ajijak Todem, Francophone Indigenous. So hello, my name is Nenookaasi. I am the moderator for this amazing segment here. I am going to briefly introduce myself, who I am, and what I'm about. So I like to call myself an Ojibwe, I'm an Ojibwe Jamaican Ukrainian descent being, two-spirit, wife, mother of three. I consider myself to be an activist with recently understanding that my activism is strongly held up through the arts. Never perceived myself to be an artist, but I'm really learning to take that title in and run with it. I'm gonna go in grid circle and we'll start off with Tanisha. Please introduce yourself.
Hello everyone, my name is Tanisha Richards. I am Mi'kmaq First Nations and Jamaican. Jamaican on my dad's side, Mi'kmaq on my mother's side. Mama Lena, she's here with us today. Thankfully she can come. She's a very powerful woman and she created me, so hey. I work with Imaginative Film and Media Arts Company. Our organization is also a non-for-profit. My title is Volunteer Coordinator and Outreach Coordinator. And pretty much, yeah, I'm really happy to be here today. I also am within the arts. I've created my own music. I've been a dancer much longer, like as long as I can remember. My mom used to say, I used to walk on my toes, and then they said I was gonna be a dancer. So I'm more urban hip hop, dancehall. I did Bollywood, performed at a variety of weddings, and just I performed all over, Bruno Mars, like just you name it. So just that was a dancer first, and that's, I guess, what led me to working at Imaginative. I'm not necessarily an art curator at Imaginative. Maybe I'll work my way up eventually, but yes, I'm on my way to staying within the arts. And yeah, so I'm happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me, and we'll get into all the nitty-gritties later. Bye.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Kaya, you're up.
Thank you, Nina. Sego, Kaya Yangyat, Waxkare Wage, Ganyange Hane Wagahu Sodun. Hello, my name is Kaya, I sit with Bear Clan, and I'm born and raised in Toronto. Pronouns, they, them, she, her is cool too. On my mom's side, we are Ganyange Haga with relations from and in Ganawage, Irish, Scottish, and Jamaican. And then on my dad's side, we are Vincentian from Beckway. I'm an artist. I explore all sorts of things that are rooted in my identity as an Afro-Indigenous person raised in Toronto. I'm really interested in Black and Indigenous futurities and the power of ancestral knowledge that I hold in my body, and I use my artistic practice to manifest that and conjure that however I can. And yeah, I'm a community arts facilitator as well, and a member of the Weaving Men Collective, which is an Indigenous queer arts collective. I'm definitely more of a listener and observer than a speaker, so I will be trying my best today. And yeah, I'm really excited to be here and be in sharing virtual space with everyone. Yeah.
Thank you, Kaya. Appreciate you. Shanese, slay it to 'em.
As anim bajo boju, Shanese Anne and Dobalago Nishna Bemnang, the Jack and Dodam, Anishinaabe Makadekwe, Toronto Dunjaba, meanwhile Nbiising Dunjaba, the Benjamin Nakuya, Mississauga. So, hello, my name is Shanese Steele. I'm Afro-Indigenous. My father is Black from Trinidad and Carriacou, Grenada. And then my mom is Métis Nbiising or Nbiising. So I am, you know, mixed and walking in two worlds, as they say. I'm Crane Clan. It's always so weird when I'm like, do I describe myself as an artist? Because I'm a writer, and writing is always that like weird realm where like some people consider it art, some people don't. But I am a writer. That's what I do. I also guest speak. I run a nonprofit called the Ajganong Project, which works to bridge the gap between Black Indigenous people and Indigenous people to these territories. So I do a lot around Black indigeneity and supporting Black folks in reclaiming their indigeneity and understanding that indigeneity does not just mean that you're from North America, that as Black folks, we have indigeneity from our connection to Africa. And so I do a lot of work around that, a lot of work around connection to land, to kinship, to placement through writing. And so that's the work that I do. And I'm so happy to be here with y'all. Like, look at all these beautiful faces. This is representation. This is the stuff that I know we all hope for and dream of. And yeah, I'm just hyped. Like I anytime I'm in a space with those of us, you know, who share multiple identities and are just trying to navigate a world that says we should not exist, and look at us existing. So yeah, Chimigwech.
I'm so here for that. Thank you so much. And Aria, your turn.
Kwei, hello. My name is Aria. I'm a queer Afro-Indigenous and settler mover and maker. My father is Afro-Indigenous from Nova Scotia, where the Mi'kmaq and the Black underground slave trade route collide, and my mom is British. And I run a company called Political Movement. I make work from a social political lens because of my mixed identity. I've always looked at creating bridges between different experiences, and that fuels why I make work and why I strive to see different bodies, different colors on stage. And I'm so inspired by just like being in a space like this. Shanese, what you just said about look at us existing, it's so true that we can feel like there's no place for us, and here we are in a place. So Walalin, Walaliok, I'm looking forward to talking more.
Thank you. Appreciate you so much. And Mama Lan, it's your turn. Is that okay if I call you that? I don't know, it just feels natural.
Hi, sorry. Hi, I'm Lena. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Oh, okay. Excuse me. My mother was Mi'kmaq from Bear River First Nations. My father, where I live now, my father from Africville, Nova Scotia. I took care of both my parents until they passed. They lived with me. I have 7 wonderful children. It inspires me that you young women are representing and speaking and stuff on issues that have for so long evaded me and didn't include me, you know? And I feel like you guys are representations of the future, what's to come, and I got goosebumps all over looking at you beautiful girls rapping all the way. So I'm excited and ecstatic to be a part of this.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you. And I apologize for pronouncing your name wrong. Lena and not Lana.
That's
myself.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, so let's dig in this. So if you're not speaking right now, make sure you put your mic back on mute so we're not picking up any extra sounds. So back to you, Tanisha. We are going to have the self information jar or community knowledge information jar? Which would you like to draw from first?
Self-information.
Do this. Trying to be all creative and everything, you know?
Yeah.
So here's a big one.
Oh no.
How, they're all big. Here we go. So how has your identity affected your ability to produce work or be seen in Canadian arts scene? So how has your identity affected your ability to produce work or be seen in the Canadian art scene?
Identity. So for one, I have an appearance of a Black woman. So I'm perceived that way. And so the roles that I'm able to step into in terms of art or that are attracted to me are those roles, those like hip hop, you know, like just, and even like just appearance period. I was like always, okay, we want you in booty shorts and, you know, like, and we want your hair, your weave to be down to the floor. And this is how you're going to look, right? This is the role you're going to play when you're on stage, because that's you, pretty much. That's the role I have to put into. But also in terms of my identity of being Indigenous, I'm into the arts and music, creating music and performing. And obviously that's an expensive field to be in. And a lot of the times you need financial support. If you're not making a bunch of money, like going to the studio, having people edit your music or your music videos, and even having a music video, like that costs a grip. And I wanted to apply for funding, which I wish I had a mentor to show me how to write these grants, but like, I don't even know where to find them, but I wanted to even try just with my knowledge as is. I was willing to do the work, but I had a manager at the time who said to me, and who pretty much put that down as an option, said, no, that's not gonna be an option, because once you apply for Indigenous grants, you're gonna have that stigma of an Indigenous person. And it's like, I'm already Black as is, and then a stigma of Indigenous, does it get worse? Like, do you know what I mean? In terms of like societal image and stigmas on being a Black woman, period. So now my other part of me is also Indigenous, and like, and I'm told no, so is that lower than? Like, just, anyway, that just is one of the situations that I'm bringing to the table today, since you asked. Yeah, that was troubling for me, and I felt like had I had that assistance and my manager was willing, you know, like had more of an open mind, I could have got a funding and I could have been a lot further within my artistry, because for big time financial supports were lacking, and and that like held me back, I feel. Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I can definitely relate to some of those experiences that you're speaking of. So I appreciate you for speaking out on that. Kaya, would you like to answer this question as well? Would you like me to repeat it, or you got it?
Yeah, if you could just repeat it too, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. How has your identity affected your ability to produce work or be seen in Canadian art scenes?
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I mean, I feel like I'm relatively new to the Canadian art scene, I suppose, coming out of school, but I've been kind of born and raised in the art scene, as my mother is an artist, an Afro-Indigenous artist. So I've had a really strong foundation of like who to align myself with and knowing like who I should be working with, although it's not always as easy as just being like, yes, I want to work with all these rad people. So I feel like I've definitely had experiences where I feel as though only one of my identities is being welcomed or like celebrated in a space. Like I'm there as the Black artist, or I'm there as the Indigenous artist. More like not just I am both and I can be both of these things, and my experiences are like a weaving together of both of these identities. And so I feel like that causes so many things to come up, so many imposter syndromes to come up. So yeah, I feel like I'm really trying to align myself with folks who have a capacity of understanding intersectionality, like it's a thing, it exists, and trying to work with folks who, yeah, who celebrate me for all that I am. Yeah, still trying to figure out how to do that. But yeah.
Thank you so much for that. It really makes me happy to know that there are foundations around you that are willing to support you and have been guiding you through this. I know so many of us don't really have those type of opportunities, so it just really makes my heart feel so full to know that you have that, and I'm sure you'll be sharing a lot of that with other people. I know you to be very kind, so thank you so much, Kaya, for that. Shanese, would you like to have a go at this question as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely feel the whole like being pigeonholed into one genre or one area, and feeling like you can't express yourself in other ways, or people don't even want to listen. I get invited to do a lot of workshops and guest speaking, and oftentimes I have to explain to people, like, I have moved through the world as a Black woman, and so my experiences with racism and discrimination is that of a Black woman. I been discriminated against because I'm an Anishinaabe? Yes, that's happened, but it's usually after I've said, by the way, I'm Native, right? Like, it's the police brutality that I've experienced, right? The racism that I've experienced, the violence that I've experienced is that as a Black woman. And so it's been hard when I get invited to speak on, you know, discrimination against Indigenous folks. And I'm like, yes, I can speak to it on a structural level, but as like an experience level, my experience is that of a Black woman. And so it's been hard. It's been hard to have those conversations. And then when it comes to my writing, it has always felt that folks are more interested in reading what I have to say around my indigeneity than they are around Blackness. And that's just period. Like, I think they're just like, they're more interested in hearing like, oh, what is this like Afro-Indigenous person have to say about indigeneity, right? Like, they're not interested in what I have to say about Blackness. And so the articles that I've written, like when I talked about the anti-Blackness in like Kent Monkman's art, like that, everyone wanted to talk about it. But then when I was talking about the way in which folks were co-opting the Black Lives Matter movement for photo ops, like no one was sharing that article and no one wanted to talk about it. And it was just like, I was like, oh, okay. Like, I'm starting to see this pattern here where, you know, my Blackness isn't, not even my Blackness, my interpretation of how I've moved through the world is not as important to a lot of folks. And also there's been times where like my Blackness has been a reason for folks to try to silence me on Indigenous issues, right? I've been told so many times, like, you don't know what you're talking about. Like, you grew up as a Black person in the city. Like, you need to talk to elders. You need to go back to the res. You have no idea what you're talking about. And I'm like, no, let's address anti-Blackness. Like, let's talk about it, right? Like, even with that article that I wrote about Kent Monkman, I had brought up the fact that, you know, Mohawk folks had owned slaves, Joseph Brant. And I had people like just tearing me apart. Like, they were like, she doesn't know what she's talking about, and just like coming for me. And it was so laterally violent. And I was like, oh, okay, that's what we're doing. So it's been hard. There have been amazing folks that have uplifted me in spaces and have allowed me, a lot of elders have allowed me to express myself, like especially spiritually through my Blackness and my Anishinaabe identity. And that's been absolutely beautiful and reaffirming. So I don't want to sit here and be like, it's just been horrible this whole time. It hasn't. But yeah, it's definitely difficult. And I think especially when it comes to art and expression of self, folks aren't interested in seeing that like shared story. They want to see one or the other, and they're expecting you to live up to a stereotype. And especially when you're Black or Black presenting, right, an Afro-Indigenous person, they don't see you as Indigenous, because Black folks have been erased and removed from indigeneity to such an extent that they can't even see indigeneity in you. And even when you are mixed with First Nation or Inuit or Métis to these lands, it's if you don't present a certain way, they still can't see that indigeneity within you. And so when you express that indigeneity, they're like, whoa, 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 you're Black. What are you doing? You're supposed to be doing the hip hop dancing, right? Like, you're supposed to be doing spoken word. You're not supposed to be singing with a hand drum. You're not supposed to be doing jingle dress. So it's just, I think it's hard, but I think representation like this is what's helping a lot. And a lot of the art scene is that we're seeing more and more Afro-Indigenous folks expressing themselves and expressing that identity. And so it makes more room for the rest of us to do so. So it's definitely a battle, but I think we're making strides, and we're definitely out here being like, we're here, and you gonna get all this expression, right? Whether it's dancing, whether it's drumming, whatever it is. So yeah, it's definitely been a journey.
Thank you for all of that deepness. I'm really happy that you touched in on, you know, how we move through appearance. Like, that is very, very different if you don't understand what that experience is like, and how hard it can really be to express, to exist, let alone express, with having that around us. So thank you so much, Shanese, for that. Aria, would you like a crack at this question as well?
Yeah, so many incredible things have been said that resonate with me. This idea that the world only wants to see you in one way makes me think about how the purpose of colonization is to make people feel like they don't belong to the group, the like cultural group that they are a part of, and how that leads to this idea of enough. Like, am I Indigenous enough to say that I am Indigenous? Am I Black enough to say that I am Black? Am I white enough, for me at least, to say that I'm white? And the difference between how we look, how we feel, and how we know ourselves to be is really nuanced and complicated. And the only way to move through the discomfort that people have with multiple identities being able to exist in one body is to take up space, is to talk about it, is to not shy away from like the hard conversations. I think it's sensitive because I think about this room of people even, and like, I have the experience of looking more Indigenous than I do white, than I do Black, and how in Indigenous spaces that gives me a certain kind of credit, but in Black spaces it's completely erased. And like, there is no better scenario. There is no like, this feels better than this. It's just a multitude of realities that I think we, unfortunately, have to be the people that move society forward from that place. And I think about like artistic practice and how, like, I never saw anyone, I never had a mentor who was showing me a way forward, and how like our generation is now carving our own path through the nuance of multiple identities. Like, I mean, Canada is different, but I think about the States and how you can't have an interracial marriage like past like 1965, and how like we actually are some of the first generations of folks who have multiple identities, who have multiple realities. And like, this conversation is changing, is starting, is generating now, and it can be exhausting, but also I want the people coming behind me to not have to go through what we're going through when it comes to imposter syndrome.
Thank you so much for that. I personally really appreciate you touching base on being those three different nationalities of being Black, white, and Indigenous, and how hard it can be to navigate yourself, and also having to code switch during those situations to fit, what other people need you to be versus your spirit being met where it's at. And also never really being able to identify as white, no matter how much whiteness you got inside of you. Like, it's a road. It's a road. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Lena, would you like a crack at this this question as well? You take your mic off.
Unmute.
There you
Sorry,
go.
I'm not using this technical stuff. They basically covered everything that I thought, and I'm very impressed with it, being that you're so young. Well, here, I moved here to Bear River First Nations, Nova Scotia, 2015. And I was one of the first Afro-Indigenous persons to live in this community. Imagine that, 2015. So you know what I'm working against, right? And when you come to this community, honestly, and I'm not being disrespectful by any means, when you come here, you would be shocked that it is indeed an Indigenous community. Because what is more widely, I find, accepted is, and I mean, again, I mean no disrespect, what is more widely accepted is Indigenous and white, which I like to call, and forgive me, don't be offended, but I call it white privilege with a status card. Because I know the struggle of being brown, having black eyes and black hair. I know that struggle all too well. And coming back here, it was like coming back in time, because I came from Toronto, the hustle and bustle of Toronto, to here. And I'm wondering where is my people at? Where are my people at? And realizing I'm where my people's at. I'm bringing back the Indigenous into basically a whitewashed community. I went on a fast for 4 days and 4 nights. No, I haven't met anybody else in the community that has done that. No food, no water for 4 days and 4 nights. And it was a very amazing, powerful spiritual journey. And I have to go through it 3 more times because my road is to become a grandmother. And it's shocking that there's no one in this community that is doing that. And I will be the first in a very long time to accomplish that. And I like to think of girls like yourselves and my young daughters. I have 3 younger daughters than Tanisha. And I would like to think that I'm leading them on the spiritual path of my Afro-Indigenous spiritual path, because both are so much alike. They almost mirror each other. The drum, the ceremony, you know, just there's so many things I can't list right now. The meeting would end. But I take pride in that. And it was a long, hard, strenuous road, and it still continues to be long and hard, but I'm willing. I got the strength. I've been through enough already that, okay, might as well go the rest of the way. So good on you guys for even talking about it. Thank you. I feel honored.
Thank you so much for that. And I just wanted to acknowledge you. And I think a lot of us here on this panel can relate to the fact of being first to do something within our communities, whether it be within the Afro community, the Indigenous community, or our white communities. We tend to find ourselves doing brunt work, taking on the majority of the impact. So that way, just like Aria had stated, that, you know, we're paving way for those that come after us. I too look down, like same way that you are doing right now, Lena, with us, and being really proud to see that we are stepping up in a way. And, you know, looking back at all of the young Afro-Indigenous young ones that are here after us and how we are going to pave that way for them is also really important. So it makes me really proud to know that we are doing our best to continue on what you and many others have started as well. So thank you. I really appreciate you. So Kaya, it's your time. Personal question, community question.
I'll take a personal question again. I like personal questions.
I like this panel. Go for it. Well, I liked you before the questions anyway. Just want to Ooh. Okay. This one just hurt me actually personally as well. So here we go. Do you have an experience in which lateral violence has made you feel like your indigeneity has been questioned, or your other identities have been made to feel marginalized by Indigenous community members? You can pass on if you want to come back to it. Totally up to you.
I mean, I feel like, yes. Similar to how I answered the last question, I feel like when I'm in a space you know, I'm there as a light-skinned person, but definitely a Black person first. And the amount of microaggressions that I have experienced when trying to access certain things in institutions like my school, like going to the Indigenous Student Center and trying to access resources, there was definitely a lot of contention going into that space and questioning of identity that I don't know, the microaggressions were they felt very violent, and like they just built up over time. And yeah, they start to manifest in all of these really horrible ways that I'm still like processing and trying to work through. I feel like definitely imposter syndrome is something that I deal with all the time in spaces. So yeah, I can't name like one experience in particular, I suppose, but yeah, that's what I have to say, I think, for now.
Thank you for allowing yourself to be very vulnerable in that. And I can tell that that was a little bit hard in some ways for you. And again, you don't have to answer any of these questions, folks. You're more than able to pass up. Thank you, Kaya, for your response to that question. Shanese, would you like to have a crack at this question as well?
Yeah. I will say that I've been called the N-word more times by Native folks than I ever have by white people. And I was born in Milton, Ontario. Anyone knows where that is? That is hella white. And it was hella violent, but I faced a lot more violence from other Native folks than I ever did from white people. Especially when I was in university and I really started to get more involved in community. I'll never forget, I was hanging out with some friends and I was talking and someone looked at me and was like, "Why is the nigger talking?" And I was just like, "Oh, okay. Like this is now where we've gone. Like this is now how the night's gone." And it was really bad. It was really, really bad, to the point that I actually separated myself from community and didn't go to ceremony for a year. And my mental health was in the toilet that entire year. I don't think I realized at the time how much I needed ceremony and community. I was just like, it's fine. I'm just gonna step away. I don't need this. And it was extremely hard. I think I got to some of my lowest points during that time. So that was extremely difficult. I've had people be like, why is this black girl here? Someone, because we had different protocols around ceremony. I had someone in a room full of people say, "I'm sorry, I'm just more unapologetically Indigenous than you are." And that was another Afro-Indigenous person. And I think that hurt the most, because I was like, you understand how hard it is to be in these spaces. So that was really difficult. And I think it was hard. I was, and trigger warning around this, I was in an abusive relationship for 6 years with a man. He's Mohawk and Cree. And during that entire relationship, I was trying to be like the best Native woman I could be, best Native partner I could be. You know, his mom is like a very strong Mohawk woman, and I wanted to impress her, and I just slowly started to chip away at my Blackness in order to like fit into this narrative and this relationship. And at the end of our relationship, the like, I guess the straw that broke the camel's back was we had got into an argument, and part of my language here was like, "Fuck you, you nigger, and your nigger family, and your nigger loving mom." And this was a man that I had been with for 6 years, that I was planning on having children with. And I remember just sitting there being like, how did we get here? You know, like this, like, how did we get to this moment? And it's wild for me to say that, because it was physically abusive that entire 6 years. But that was the thing that I was like, he'll never cross that line. Like, that's a line he'll never cross. And then it got crossed. And so for a while I was like, I will never date a Native person again. Like it was to the point where I was like, I love my community and I love my people, but the idea of bringing that into my personal space and home again, I just could not could not do it. And so, I mean, luckily after that, I realized I was gay, and so I'm doing much better. But, you know, out here living the queer life. But, you know, and I'm happy. I have a wonderful partner now. But it was hard. It was definitely hard. And it took a long time for me to get back to myself and back to a point where I was like, I can be both. Like, I don't have to be, like, my identity is a strong Native woman. Like, I don't have to chip away at my Blackness to do that. But I will say that lateral violence sometimes makes you feel like you have to make the other parts of you so much smaller, right? And so you, like, where the other question was like, okay, people are pigeonholing you into being like certain things. When lateral violence comes in, you're like, I don't want to be any of those things, right? So you're like, I don't want to be Blacker. I don't want to do things that make you think I'm Blacker, or that I can't support my community. And so you start to chip away at the like parts of you that make you you. And so, like, I don't know if everyone's had that experience, but I will say that it's always a journey of, like, I think for Afro-Indigenous folks, oftentimes we chip away at ourselves and then have to build ourselves back up. So I always think of us as like phoenixes, because we're constantly like burning down identities and then building back ourselves back up into beautiful things. I guess the phoenix that too, yeah. So yeah, Afro-Indigenous folks, I just feel like we're those people that we're constantly rebuilding ourselves in the images that fit for us. And sometimes they don't always fit, but I think we always end up getting to a place where it does. So, yeah.
Thank you so much for all that powerfulness. You really touched me on quite a few parts of that, but I will respond to my feels and experience after everyone else has gone on. So I'm going to hold that in, and I appreciate your vulnerability through this. Aria, would you like to go?
Yeah, I'll keep this one short. And also my middle name is Phoenix, so I'm feeling this like rebirth. I think about when people are intimidated or perplexed by our identities, and how like damaging and exhausting it is to constantly have to explain yourself to people. And I think for me, this idea, like the microaggressions of like, oh, your work only took off when you started to claim your indigeneity, when you started to claim your Blackness. And this idea that like, those are like things that you can utilize to get ahead in the world. And like the difference between just wanting to express yourself, to express your reality, to express the experiences that you've had, but then it gets looked at as if you're using it to move forward in some like strange hierarchical system that apparently exists in the arts world that I don't want to prescribe to. But I also think about how microaggressions sway us to be the agreeable Indigenous person or Black person, the pleasant, like good Black girl, Indigenous girl, and how we get quieted down inside of people being uncomfortable with our identities, and like how hard it is to push against that and to like take space to find our voice, to just be. And I think that's just a reality that we face, and I'm going to leave it at that.
Thank you. Short and sweet, but straight to the point. And I really do appreciate that so much. Nina, would you like to answer this question as well? Need you to unmute.
Oh, okay.
There you go.
Sorry, just have patience with me, please.
No sorry. No sorry, we're not that kind of Canadian, okay?
Okay. Well, yes, the aggression, violence. Yeah, absolutely. I remember I spoke up. They had the Black Lives Matter with Bear River First Nations, and they went out and they had a march. And I said, I'm not going to partake in it. They said, why? I said, because Black lives don't matter to you guys. You're pretending. And I'm not going along with a false pretense. I refuse. And They were upset, not to mention they were very upset, but they knew where I stand, and they know to this day that was my protest against them. Stop being phony. If you really, if Black lives really matter, invite me down, we'll sit down and we'll have a talk. No, I didn't get invited down because really and truly they don't want to talk about it because they're uncomfortable, as any racist mentality is, when you call them out, right? But what they're failing to realize is that when you're calling them out, it's to discuss it, right? And immediately this wall comes up, you know, that racism is very, very touchy within the Indigenous community. Let's just put it that way. And like, even I'm having a hard time expressing it because I've been taught, I'm 50 years old. So I've been taught and raised and, how would you say it, formed to be passive, to be quiet, to smile, to, oh, they're there. You know, let's just sweep it under the rug. Shh, it's okay. If you don't talk about it, it doesn't exist. But no, that's not the reality we live in, right? So I've had many experiences with racism within Indigenous communities, within my own Indigenous family, right? And it's on both sides, right? So I feel your pain. I feel everybody's pain, you know? But the best part of it is that we're talking about it. Because I learned that when you speak about things, you're putting it up to the universe to open up, to deal with this. Come on, let's work this out. It's the more you don't talk about it and suppress it, the more, what's the word I'm looking for? Oh, it's escaping me, but the more oppressed you are, right? So the mere fact that we're talking about it, just us alone, we're putting it out into the universe. And that to me is what I appreciate and I'm focusing on, because it's the positive aspect of this, right? I don't know if I went off topic there, but that's my view so far.
Thank you so much for that. And I don't think that you can really get off topic because there's so many layers to this conversation and each experience is very unique. So for anyone to say that you're off topic, we'll just check them out.
Okay.
So much.
Thank you.
I appreciate you and all that you're sharing with us. I think it's really important that we don't just have our own age groups or our own generation having these conversations. Part of our teachings is that we have some of all of the, you know, the young ones, the babies, the adolescents, the adults, our elders, our golden age, our parents, like we all need to be a part of the conversation. So thank
Absolutely.
you. Yeah, I appreciate you.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah. Don't forget to put your mic. Tanisha, would you like to answer as well?
I think I'm just going to be repeating what everyone's saying because like everyone has touched on so many aspects of the topic and the question, and yeah, I'm ready for the next question. Or would love to hear what you have to say about it as well.
Thank you, co-moderator. I appreciate you. Yeah, you know, this is a lot of feels for me because I'm a very outspoken person. I've always been that way. That's something that will never be ever taken away from me. However, that lateral violence is something so real, and trigger warning, there are many times I've tried to take my life because I just felt like I didn't deserve or I should be here, or the words that people have said to me have been so evil that it made me believe them. Like I've had people tell me that no matter where I go in the world, people always want to kill me because I'm Black presenting, or, you know, that recently someone had made a comment. I had posted some pictures in a support group for a young little girl in regards to her ribbon skirts and a situation that happened around that. And so I'm really proud of my Afro-Indigenous specific ribbon skirt. And, you know, me as a drumming singer, I posted that and put a link up to a song in support of this young one. And I was really proud of it. I'm very proud of it and still am. And an Indigenous man had come up on this post and said that Afro-Indigenous isn't real and I need to be one or the other and that countries are not supposed to be mixing. I am constantly wanting to tell people about themselves, but then I'm holding myself back because I'm like, roles and responsibilities. You have to be a good Indian. You have to be this, you have to be that. And if you do this, then, oh, well, you're a role model. You know what? I don't always want to be a role model. I don't always want to have to hold myself back. Sometimes somebody needs to be told about themselves. Like, we talk about MMIW, we talk about, you know, suicide and millennial scoops and all these other things. And there's this little phrase that I have that I'm writing in a poetry because, you know, back in the day I used to write poetry, but this just sticks in my mind that they expect us, Afro-Indigenous, to protect us, Afro and Indigenous, while they reject us, Afro-Indigenous. And for me, like, that hits home a lot, and like, it hits home a lot. So I just kind of wanted to leave that there. That's, you know, for us, I'm really proud that we are still standing, and we are a magical, rare stardust. There is nobody in this world who will truly understand what oppression means for Indigenous and Black communities at the same time. Like last year, we were crying all over the place because our Indigenous people were dealing with stuff in the beginning of the year, and then it led into our Afro communities, and then having to choose what side you're gonna advocate for, which thing you're gonna post about. Like, honestly, all I could do was cry because at the end of the day, nobody was fighting for me or checking in for me to see how I was. And the only people that did were Afro-Indigenous people. And some of these folks here are in some of those chat groups that held us together. We held it down ourselves, and community just left us high and dry. So I just wanted to thank everybody for taking that time to be very vulnerable. And go ahead, Tanisha.
I just remembered something. Thank you for everyone going and talking about it. But because you brought back the violence, lateral violence, and I kind of forgot the question because, but everyone had great things to say. But I did want to mention one thing that I remembered when you guys were talking was in school. When I went to school for police foundations, I thought it was something active. I thought it was like, I didn't know, I just knew I needed to go back to school. Like, just something was telling me to just go, I need to learn something, but what's not going to be that systemic, sit down, societal view of learning. You know what I mean? Sit down at a desk, just learn, sit there, do nothing. But there was also that physical aspect of working out and like it's just more active program. And also there was violence in the family from, I guess you call it police brutality. My mom could speak more on it if she wishes to. But so that was another motivation for me to go into police foundations. And then they say, and I never thought about it, I thought it was just as kids tend to, like, because I also did early childhood education before that, and they say the kids tend to, in public, will go towards the abuser instead of running from. So it looks like they're all friendly, but they're just trying to make the abuser happy, right? And to calm them down so they're not, you know, just to keep everything cool and collective. But anyway, so I just realized that me going to school and taking on police foundations was like fighting against the situation that my family had to endure. But what I'm trying to get at with the lateral violence is when I did really well in my program. I graduated at the highest of my class, like the whole program, with honors, and I worked really damn hard to do that, to get there. A lot of sleepless nights, a lot of just stress. And I did have, I have students and friends, associations in the program but once they found that I was Indigenous and that there was other grants and whatever you can get just by, you know, claiming your indigeneity, and even with the grades, they would say, oh, it's because she's Native. Oh, it's because she's Native. Oh, she got that good grade and she beat me because they're really competitive with their grades. She beat me because they just gave her the extra score because she's Native. And that used to piss me off so much. But then I also entered into a fitness competition. You can't fake fitness, right? So I entered a fitness competition and I won. Tell me it's because I'm Native again, right? So like that, I yelled that out. I yelled it. Is this because I'm Native? Is this because I'm Native? Tell me right? That's what I was like. I was so angry with like them, like just brushing it off. And then I started believing, oh, the teachers are going to pass me because I'm Native. The teachers are going to give me a higher score because like, oh, she's Black and Native. Like, oh, this is a check off, you know, like let's meet our quota of helping out an Indigenous person today. But I started believing that. And then I just like, I didn't like that feeling because I felt like I was working so hard that I deserved it, right? But then, yeah, anyway, that was one of those moments. And when you guys are talking, I'm like, oh, I do have some stuff. At the time I didn't, because I just listened to everybody, right? And I wasn't thinking about what I was gonna say, or it just never came to mind, but it did. And I just wanted to share that with everybody. Thanks.
Thank you so much. I'm really happy that you're able to chime in on that. It's really interesting as a person to see how much we suppress or how much we have tucked back. Like there's so much that we carry and it's impossible to remember everything, but when we do, it brings back feels. So that resonates. Shanese, jar time for you.
Yes, I just wanted to say about the role model comment that you made. The folks that a lot of us find role models were never folks that were polite about their oppression. Like while you're dealing with your oppression, we're supposed to be polite. But Angela Davis was not polite. Maya Angelou was not polite. You know, like there's so many folks who were not. Buffy St. Marie was not polite. We do not have politeness in our oppression. And so, like, listen, my role models can cuss anybody out any day, and I'm gonna live for it. So I just wanna say that, like, it's turning the other cheek is something that we were taught to do when it came to our oppression, and it is not something that we have to do. But yeah, I'll leave that at that. So I'm gonna pick community because we haven't had a community question yet. So I'm gonna pick community.
Ooh, daring. Let's help the others. Just kidding. No, I want to. Let's do it. So the first question, how can Indigenous organizations do better when it comes to being accessible and equitable for Afro-Indigenous community members? How and when have they not been? So it's a bit of a twofer.
Yeah, so how can they do better? Like just do better. Like I feel like we try to make it so complicated, but just like do better. I'm at the point right now where I'm like, I don't want to sit here and give you a play-by-play as to why you should treat me like a human being. Just do better, right? Like that's the basic principle. I think like, yeah, of course, like do classes on anti-Black racism and workshops on anti-oppression and, you know, read and listen to Afro-Indigenous voices. Like those are all the things, but I think we're at a point now that those are basic things that you should already know that you should be doing, right? Like especially a lot of the Indigenous organizations are nonprofits, right? So it's just, there's no excuse around why we're not doing better. It's just do better. There was a conversation that I was privy to where someone had said that like in their work at an Indigenous organization, they don't work with Black people. Like that was their response. They were like, we don't work with Black people. And I was like, first of all, I'm right here. Like I'm right here. And also just the fact that like, yes, you are working with Afro-Indigenous folks. Like it was the complete like erasure of Blackness in that statement of Afro-Indigenous people. And so I think it's recognizing that Afro-Indigenous folks exist, just recognizing it. It was interesting because at the time we were having a conversation about, you know, Afro-Indigenous identity and someone I know was like, oh yeah, I just realized there's like a little Afro-Indigenous boy on my res and people bully him. Someone should say something about that. And I was like, so it took this conversation right now for you to realize that a child deserved protection. So it's like, I think it's just really just like having the conversations, like have the conversations, invite folks in to talk about it. I think also there's been this wave of like, you can only have a conversation about anti-Blackness in Indigenous communities if an Indigenous person is talking about it. Like invite a Black person to come in and talk. Invite dark-skinned Afro-Indigenous folks to come in, because that's the other thing that organizations need to do a lot better about, They're real comfortable with having light-skinned folks like myself in an organization. They're real comfortable with that, but they're not going to have the dark-skinned Afro-Indigenous woman in that space, or man in that space, or person, right, that might not identify with the gender. They're not going to have a dark-skinned Afro-Indigenous person, right? So it's not, when we're talking about representation, it's not about just throwing another light-skinned person into an office and being like, look, we are now including Afro-Indigenous people, right? That's always my thing. Like, when we're asking who's not at the table, right, it's not just looking around and being like, this person's not here, and then going about your day. It's about actually putting in the work to have folks at the table. And so I think that's just what Indigenous organizations need to do better, is like, be honest about your bias, be absolutely honest. Also, don't throw Afro-Indigenous folks into your organization if you haven't done the work. I don't want any of us going into spaces where we're just going to face more violence because someone wants to fill a quota. That's not what needs to be done. But like, once again, the most basic, just do better. Like, it is 2021. We do not have the time. We actually do not have the time to sit here and hold your hand through doing better. I refuse to argue with anybody about my humanity. It's either you see it, or I'm not going to be around for you to disrespect it. So it's really just do better. Yeah.
Thank you so much for that. I really appreciate that. And when you had said do better, it made me think about how within our Indigenous communities, and I'm going to say we because I'm a part of the community, right? How we are so quick to tell other people, do your own work, right? I don't have the time or energy to explain to you, but then you're being a hypocrite to your own community when you need to do the work. So I just want to throw that in there. So thank you, Shanese, for bringing that up. Aria, your turn. Would you like to answer this question?
Yeah, how can Indigenous organizations do better? I think about the space that exists for like white passing Indigenous people, for the relationship between like settler identity and indigeneity that gets combined, and how, because there's such a focus on reconciliation with settlers, that gets given a lot of resources from Indigenous organizations. And I think about just like a paradigm shift or resource allocation to include the same idea of like mixed identity, but with Afro-Indigenous folks, or even folks that come from another, like a different kind of cultural experience than just being like a white settler. And like, saying do better, to me, that's all that needs to be done. Like, use the resources that you're using in this one specific way to continue that idea of like bridging identities so that artists feel like they can be themselves.
Thank you so much for that. I appreciate you. Lena, would you like to answer this question as well? My wife is going to pass by, don't mind her. Okay. Lena, we need you to take off your mic.
Oh, sorry, you have to keep reminding me. Jeez. Anyways, there needs to be a lot more information. Hopefully, someone could come up with like informative conversation in terms of that we could sit down and maybe throw a DVD or whatever on for Indigenous people to understand that Black people know Indigenous culture inside and out. Indigenous people, on the other hand, don't. They're not very educated about Black culture. And I think that, how would I say it? Like what we're doing now, roundtable talk, and invite Indigenous leaders in. And maybe if they hear from our mouths how we feel and how we've been treated, it will give them insight that they're actually repeating the colonialist behavior, right? They're continuing that colonial treatment of brown-skinned people, of dark brown people, right? Here in this community, I know for a fact they're not educated on it. My husband is very dark-skinned. He applied for jobs here and was passed up for a non-native, so a Caucasoid looking person, was passed up for that person, even though my husband had a wealth more experience. My husband then now is currently working in corrections out of province, and we see him twice a month, as opposed to if he had the job, if they'd not been racially profiling, he might have gotten the job and lived in the community and we would have seen him all the time. And it's things like that that just make me look at them and it's like, whoa, you're so colonialized. I think the number one job is to decolonialize a lot of Indigenous communities, because they're chasing the buck just like the colonialists did. They're chasing the buck. That's all that matters to them, right? And if I was to go into the band office and bring up my concerns as a Black Indigenous person, it would matter now because Black Lives Matter is around. But other than that, I don't think that my voice would be heard, acknowledged, or even appreciated. So I think that Indigenous leaders need to be invited to a roundtable talk with Black culture and Black Indigenous women and men.
Thank you so much, Red, and I really do appreciate you tapping into the fact that you're doing the same, you're throwing down the same oppression that you've been dealt with onto your own people. And you know, that constant conversation of Indigenous communities saying that we need to bring our people home, we need to call our people home. But yeah, we have people that are literally in our home and we're just completely dismissing them or negating them altogether. So thank you for bringing that up. I appreciate you. Tanisha, would you like to have an opportunity to answer this question?
Yes, how can they do better? Indigenous communities, correct? So as I mentioned before, I work at Imaginative Film and Media Arts, and I am the outreach worker and a volunteer coordinator, but the outreach worker is what I want to talk about, that actual work, the work being done to get more people involved in and know about Imaginative. So this is a new role, and we have new target markets, and we have a new demographic. What could that new demographic be, right? Black Indigenous, and my concern is, why is it new? You know what I mean? Why is this a new thing? Because Black Lives Matter, like you said, Mama Lena, Black Lives Matter, right? So that it's almost like a fad. Like, I hope it continues, and I hope it eventually becomes a norm to see a lot of diversity within these organizations all around, not just Indigenous, but also white and just all over. He's Hispanic, because we're trying to also outreach to international. So Hispanic speaking, because there's Indigenous there, and Black Indigenous from international and not just Canadian, right? So I was like, well, why? The strategy I put in place was, okay, well, I'm just gonna go on Google, as simple as that, look up demographics, percentile of Black people in this community, percentile of Black people in that community, and then I see what has the most, what's the bigger percentages, and I start there. Go to their employment agencies, go to the Boys and Girls Clubs, the little community centers, like that's where you start. You outreach to them and say, did you hear about Imaginative? Is anyone at your organization interested in arts? Because we have a youth program that starts from age 12 to 18. So you're telling me that, like, I never heard about Imaginative until I was, well, a woman, like full grown adult. And so if we can reach out to the Black Indigenous youth and other ethnic communities from now, then we'll start having people like achieving goals to attain a position at Imaginative, or create a project that can be curated by Imaginative. Because right now we don't have a large selection of other Indigenous people who have more ethnicity. We don't have the work there to select from. So you're gonna keep seeing the same stuff until we do the work. And fortunately, I am able to do the work as a Afro-Indigenous person, but I feel like it should have been done so long ago. Like, it's boggling, it's mind-boggling, and then they're looking at me like, you know what I mean? Like, you kidding? Anyway, I love them. I'm happy that they're working towards that. I'm happy I'm there. You know, there's no coincidence. I've been with them for 2 years, and like this is the boiling point, and I'm happy I'm there to step in and do the work. But it is a lot of work, and I do more than just this. I've worn already within the past 2 years many hats. I've been passed down from each department, and have assisted with each department, and have just taken on roles that weren't really in my job description. But I was happy to help. A lot of changes happen, and I know also that's another thing. Like being Afro-Indigenous, you feel like you have to work 10 times harder. And I know this is a common saying for just Black women to say that you have to work 10 times harder. Like it really is a thing. And like, you're doing so amazing, but the pay is the same. You know what I mean? But I'm still here, thankful for the job, but it's still the same, right? But anyway, so I just want to touch on that new demographic situation.
Well, thank you for that. I really appreciate you touching base on the fact that indigeneity is not exclusive to Turtle Islands, that indigeneity is a global thing, and we all have been rooted in some form of indigeneity, no matter where our lineage comes from, including white folks. Like we have indigenous folks in the far north, in European, Russian places and spaces. So like, I really do appreciate you talking about that. And I really do appreciate you sharing some information that I'm new to about the young age that Imaginative works with. I really would love at some point if we can all pull our resources together and create a small little data bank that we can put use to somewhere to let folks know that these things are available. There isn't enough things for Afro-Indigenous folks. You either go into Black community to find something, or you go into Indigenous community and find something. So I appreciate you for touching base on that. Kaya, would you like to have a crack at it as well? At this question? Kaya's frozen, maybe. Kind of love that frozen picture. That's like, you know what? I'm just not interested in. I'm over it. Okay, we will come back to Kaya. So I just kind of wanted to touch base on this a little bit. And to be honest, half the time I'm really tired of talking about Indigenous community and what they can do better. Half the time I don't even want to address it because I'm just so over it. And I feel like lots of times it's not even worth me saying anything because people get disrespectful anyway. But I did want to bring in a little bit about, I was working for a Black mandated healthcare organization named Taboo, calling out the name, I don't care. I was hired on because I'm Afro-Indigenous. It's a Black healthcare organization. They got a chunk of money to work with Indigenous community. And I got hired on because I'm that segue. And through that, I was faced with so much oppression, having to decolonize space and practice ceremony while being Black presenting in Black space where I'm not generally accepted to begin with, while having to carry the weight and the lens of Indigenous community and sitting at tables and having to advocate on behalf and constantly having my vulnerability come out to the point where I literally reached insanity, where I felt like I didn't even want to exist in either of those. Like, here I am being disrespected daily by my Black kin, and I'm Black presenting, and they're just like all at me. And when they come at me, say, oh, that Indigenous thing. Like I was the face of Indigenous things, but I wasn't respected. It was really, really hard. So, you know, I definitely understand. I understand. Kaya, did you want to have a chance at this question as well?
Yeah, sorry, I cut out for a little bit there because my internet was being really sus. But I'm just really grateful for everything that's been spoken so far. And I think what I have to add is that people need to be held accountable for what they say and what they promise to do. I recently experienced a situation where I went to someone higher in power, an Indigenous person who I was bringing this experience of anti-Blackness that was really harmful to me that I thought they could do something about because they were in a position of power to do so. And they were like, yeah, okay, I'm gonna take care of this. And they didn't. And then they ended up working with the person who perpetuated that anti-Blackness and like doing this whole thing with them. And so now I'm in the position where I'm gonna be, you know, calling them out, reaching out to them, and that's definitely going to be jeopardizing where I stand in the Indigenous art scene. But I'm ready to do that, of course. But it's just like, why, you know, this work is always on us. And it would be nice if people would just like not just do all this performative bullshit that ends up being way more harmful than anything else. It's tiring to see and to have to experience and go through. Yeah, that's what I have to add.
That is so much to add. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Aria, we're going to go with you. I do want to bring it back to being more art related. I'm going to ask you a personal question because I do want to tie some things in. How do you want your work to be understood?
I mean, it's interesting. I think, like, as a young person, what drew me to make art was that I didn't see anyone that looked like me on stage. And I didn't see anyone who looked like me making work about identity. And I've always seen the arts to be a place where we can reflect the worlds that we live in, to talk about hard conversations, and to also show what people have in common to bring us together, to create a world that is more accepting, that is more open-minded, that is more willing to have these conversations that might make us uncomfortable. So I think now I want my art to be seen as a place where not everyone has to have the same identity to have something in common, where we can find ways forward, where we can be our true authentic selves, where we can express the multitude of our personalities, of our identities, of our beings, of our spirits, and that is celebrated, that it's not looked down upon. I think about like socially and politically engaged art and how it has the representation of, or the idea that it's not at the same level as like high art. And I want a world that wants to champion the idea of having multiple people sharing space cohesively, collectively. And yeah, I just want my art to be seen and appreciated for what it is. Like, I don't want to have to be put into a categorization. I don't want to have my art be pigeonholed to just be one thing. I see the world of the future to be a place where we can all just be who we are, and that is beautiful and celebrated and rich, and that there's no question around like going back to this idea of being enough of something to take up that space. Yeah, I'll leave it at that for this moment.
Thank you. I appreciate that so much. Lena, would you like to have a chance at this question as well? How do you want your work to be understood? You can turn your mic on. I got you.
Yeah, my work, I guess my work would be my kids, right? So I want my kids to walk through life knowing they're beautiful, they're loved, and that they are to give love, right? And that they are as accepting of everyone as they want to be accepted. So I try my best, because my parents were both disabled. They were both deaf, and they were biracial, visually biracial. And I heard things from people being their interpreter that a child had no business hearing. So when I speak, I try to speak as nicely and kindly about people because I heard so much ugliness. So I try to circumvent things. So I guess, yeah, I would like my work, which is my kids, to walk through life accepting and loving as they were accepted and loved by me, right? I'll give you an example. I had a neighbor and they said to me when that Floyd guy was assaulted, they said, Lena, how can we change this from happening? I said, honey, you already are. She said, what? I said, yeah, you already are. My children play with your children. You've already changed it. You've already started. Your kids don't see color, right? And I think that's the start of it, is how we are going to engage the younger generations. How do we engage them? And it starts by, well, first at home. But in case there's those places where the home isn't supportive of that, we start in the schools and go as young as possible. Kindergarten. Educators need to know this as much as parents need to know this, right? So, yeah, I think that's what it is. My work is my kids, and I send them out with love, and I hope they spread love. And, you know, yeah, that's what I have to say about that.
Thank you. I'm so in love with what you just said. I'm a mother of 3, and you're right. Like, our children are our biggest, greatest artwork, you know, like our biggest, you know, and that is just really, really beautiful. And I agree that the education, or, you know, being able to share that knowledge from a really young age, like, our children are not born into hate and racism.
Exactly.
It's a learned behavior, right? And folks can, you know, learn themselves out of that as well. So I really do appreciate that. And I love that you shared with the other person who was asking how could they help, and you pointed out how they already were. Like, we often think that we have to make these catastrophic, huge contributions to make great impact, when really the ripple effect is just as just a great resource to have things move in a good way. I really appreciate you answering that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Kaya, yeah. Kaya, would you like to have a go at this question as well? How do you want your art to be understood?
Yeah, for sure. My internet is still being kind of sus, so I apologize if I cut out. But so the question is, how do I want my artwork or my work to be seen? Yeah.
Seen or understood, your choice.
Seen or understood. Well, I think I want my artwork to be seen as a space of reclamation, of projecting into futures of abundance and joy, where my kin can experience those things and be themselves. I see my work as, or wanting to be seen as a safe space, and yeah, a real space of healing, and like a medicine and an offering of my voice. I think that's the best way that I can offer my voice and my stories, is through my artistic practice. So yeah.
Thank you so much for that. And Kaya, your work is so dope, but I've watched you evolve over the years, and I see that you recently got into some animation stuff. So I'm really excited to see how that goes. I really appreciate you answering this question. Shanese, would you like to answer as well?
Yeah, could you just repeat it again for me?
Yes, how do you want your work to be understood, seen, viewed, taken in?
As a writer, I think I would like my work to be taken in as the truth, and like my truth in particular, right? Like I don't need anyone to validate my truth for me. I just need them to know it's my truth, right? And whatever you do with it is what you do with it. But I think that that's super important for me. I think I want folks to recognize that there's voices like mine out there, that voices like mine are important and need to be heard. I hope when someone reads one of my pieces that they're like, oh damn, I never thought of that before, or I never considered that before, and from there decide to go and read more and learn more. Like I always want my writing to be a stepping stone, never the end of anything. So I think for me, that's what I want, is for folks to always read my writing and say, oh, this is the beginning. I always want to be the beginning for somebody, never the end. So I think, yeah, for me, that's I just want to be a part of people's journeys in whichever way that looks. Yeah.
I really love that. And I love the way that you express being unapologetic about your own truths and people just having to accept and take that however they want with that. That's totally right up my alley, for sure. Tanisha, would you like an opportunity to share your view on this as well?
Sure. My art, how I want it to be understood. Mostly just an expression of self. I like that avenue and like that safe space because it's through the arts to be able to express anything you want, whether it be your alter ego, you're mad that day you wrote a song, or you're dancing, all that vulgarness that you can't show at work because you'll get fired. Like, you know what I mean? Like this stuff that we keep inside, like that needs to come out, and that art is a space to do that. So I just want, you know, everyone to understand that you can use the art as a platform to express yourself in a multitude of ways without hurting people. And may offend some, but do you know what I mean? Like it's a safe space to just release. And that's what it's been for me for years. And even when I'm in my own space, if I put on music and I dance, I could cry while dancing. It's just a release and it's just amazing. And it's like connecting. And I want everyone to feel like the confidence and just empowerment to see, once you see someone else doing it, especially if you like what they do, you're more encouraged, you're more inclined to follow suit. So I just, want to just show and prove kind of thing.
Thank you so much for that, and I agree. For me, when it comes to my art in whatever form it is, like I guess I shift when depending on the art. Like as a drummer, singer, you know, that's medicine work. Those songs come to me through various forms of ceremony, and it's healing work. The drum is also what saved me from a life of so much chaos. It really gave me this loud voice that I have now, whether it's singing or advocating or speaking or sharing knowledge. But when it comes to like my other art forms, like usually every year during Nuit Blanche, I do a pop-up demonstration downtown Toronto called Nuit IPOC. And basically what it is me standing up. It's a social experiment of me standing up in the typical black tracksuit, because, you know, black folks in the hoodies and, you know, the society's labels, and with my hands out wide, ready to hug people, a sign saying, I trust you, do you trust me, let's hug. And then behind me, what I have called my panels of truth. And these are my truths of what I've seen happen to me directly, indirectly. And my work is meant to be thought-provoking. It's meant to stick in your head. It's meant to make you uncomfortable. It's meant to make people have conversations. It demonstrates the war within myself of being, you know, mixed descent, and how the world views that. But regardless of all of that, I'm still able to hold out my hands and love people because it's a universal language. And I've done that 4 years in a row. Obviously, the pandemic has changed some things, but the responses out of that have been absolutely amazing. Seeing like older generations talking with younger generations, seeing white folks talk with Black folks, seeing young children, you know, coming up and hugging me, and, you know, the animals. And, you know, there's a few panels. One of them, it says, white is right. Because that is a common phrase that's used around the globe, that white is right. Whether you see it as a positive or a negative, we have, you know, many of our kin who believe that bleaching their skin will allow them and afford them opportunities, or it's ingrained that, you know, this high superiority of white supremacy, or, you know, and that sign got dealt with really hard, kicked in, smashed, spilt on, because it really triggered some people. It also brought out, you know, some far right folks who, you know, posted up with that sign and, you know, said, yeah, this is where it's at. And we've had some young Black folks who kicked the shit out of it and said, why would anybody do this? But what opportunity it gave was for us as a community to actually have these conversations. So for me, my work is extremely unapologetic. I don't care. There's no trigger warning. I'm not giving a trigger warning because my life was not given any trigger warning. And if you're going to come at me and come to me about anything, well, this is what you're going to get because this is what I deal with. And if you can't handle it, don't look at my art. But either way, you looked at my art and something's going to stick in your head. So winning. That's kind of how I feel. That's kind of how I feel about it. So Lena, oh no, that's my water. I just shook my water everywhere. I got a wet desk. Where's that jar? Here we go. Water is life. Someone's needing, some spirits are needing some water, so I shared it. So we have a personal jar and we have a community question. What do you feel? Lena, take your mic off. And there you go.
Sorry. Personal.
I got you. So, who are key catalysts in your experience, positive or negative?
Oh, geez, that. Can somebody else take that one for now? I'll come back to me.
No problem at all. Kaya, would you like to have a crack at that question?
Yeah, sure. I mean, immediately I think of a positive catalyst in my life as being my mother. She has, most definitely shaped me to be who I am today and always encouraged me to be unapologetically myself and speak my truth, which is a journey that I am on for sure. And then other amazing folks such as yous on this panel who speak your truths unapologetically, folks who speak out and call out and critique respectability politics and anti-Blackness in spaces. I get so much power and light and love from those folks and you folks. So yeah, I mean, I just want to speak to the positive people in my life and positive catalysts. So I'm going to leave it at that.
I appreciate the positive streak you're going on. Let's see. Tanisha, would you like to have a crack at this question as well? You said no?
Hey.
Hi.
The one that comes to mind first, like as a key catalyst, is always my mom. like my mom has always been really busy mom. As you know, she's had 7 children, but at the same time, she's always been supportive in a sense where it's like, if your mom, in the back of your mind, if you know your mom hates what you're doing, it's gonna bother you, right? And it's gonna just make you feel down about what you're doing, and you don't want to express anything to her, or you don't want to tell her, okay, mom, I went and had a performance today. Like, she was so busy raising children that she wasn't necessarily always able to be fully involved in there, like not like a soccer mom by my side when I'm going through all my performances of dance, but she was always there in spirit and love and support from a distance. Like, she was always the one to say, if you want to do it, baby, go ahead, you could do it, baby, you know. That's my mom. And like, to be honest, like, if you don't have that love and support in your life, you go down different paths, but I had that. And I know that I could always call her, and if I was feeling in a certain space, I could speak to her about it. And yeah, so that's been the key support, whether I want to admit to it or not today, because we have our hard edges. But no, she really has. And thank you for that, Mama Lena.
That's so beautiful. Mom, I bet you're proud right now. Like, I'm a mom too and feeling all proud right now, and that's not even my kid.
I'm definitely proud.
I'm sorry, Shanice, would you like to answer this question?
Yeah, I'll go along with everyone else. Definitely my mom. 1,000%. Like, she's the strongest woman I have ever met in my entire life. She has raised children on her own. Like the other day I was talking about the fact that my mom before the pandemic was waking up at 4:30 in the morning, getting everybody ready, like everyone's lunch is ready, everyone ready, and then hopped on a train from Barrie to Toronto for 2 hours, worked all day, came home, took my brother to soccer or taekwondo or whatever it was he's doing, cooked dinner, cleaned the house, and then repeated it all the next day. I still don't know how she does it. The strongest person I've ever met in my life. So definitely number one. I think, of course, family. Like, I mean, sometimes they can be the negative. We know how that goes. But they, at the end of the day, family, I think, has definitely been that chosen family, of course. Like, where would I be without my chosen family? I really don't know. I think when I think of like negatives, like negative catalysts would be just like the hardship my family has gone through. Like, and I feel like the work that I do is equity work. And even within my art, like my writing is always about my experiences as a queer Afro-Indigenous fat femme. And so like, and all of those things are supposed to be negative. Like my entire identity, like, you know, when you had said earlier that folks had looked at you and said, like, everywhere you go, people want to kill you, like that it's such a negative, but that's also what pushes me every single day to like wake up and be like, shit, I'm still here. Like I'm still here. And every time I write a piece, I'm showing you that I'm still here. And every time I express myself when I speak, I'm showing you I'm still here. Every time y'all do your art or whatever it is that you're doing, we are saying I'm still here. So for me, like, yeah, like all of that stuff is negative, right? Like colonization is negative, white supremacy is negative, you know, the patriarchy is negative, mediocre white men negative. But like at the end of the day, we all are still here. So like that negative shit, yeah, that's my catalyst to show you like you ain't shit. I'm still here. I'm still thriving. I'm still living my best life. I'm an Afro-Indigenous fat femme, and you gonna get all of this. So yeah, listen, you gotta let them know. You really gotta let them know at the end of the day, like, yeah, your negativity bet. Like bet. That's what I say to that negativity, bet. I'm gonna show you. And yeah, that's just it.
I am like living and breathing all of that, right? Like it's resonating, and I'll speak in a moment, but Aria, would you like to have a go at this question as well?
Yeah. Positive catalysts. I love what people have been saying about family and chosen family. I also think for me, because I've found my way into my identity through the arts, it's all of the people along that journey who have seen something in me and reached out their hand and given me an opportunity, given me mentorship, or just kind of saying, oh, like, over here, you aren't appreciated. What if you come this way? And showing me that there is a path forward, and how without those little seemingly insignificant moments, I walk into the future with optimism. And I think the negative catalysts for me are the inner voice of not feeling like I'm enough, that just like the imposter syndrome that cycles. And it's just something that I think is like a continual negative cycle. But again, with all of those positive catalysts of being invited into spaces and being shown that there is a way forward, counteracts the inner voice.
Thank you for that. I really love that a lot. We've lost Lena. Hopefully she'll be able to pop back on. We need her in the space. Like, and Mom's energy is great. Like, you are so lucky. And I would like to answer this question as well, because for me, the first thing that comes into my mind is the system. You know, like I grew up in the system, foster care. I don't have a good relationship with my biological family. You know, I shouldn't say that. I've had ample of consistent community support. Like my life has just always been very transient. So my own resilience is what has allowed me to move through, and that's what's pushed me. And like you had said, Shanese, it's all those comments or those bad things from that people throw at us, like I live for it because I'm going to prove you wrong. And sometimes like it may be really hard for me to be that full strength and to have that full strength in saying, yeah, I'm here for it and I'm going to prove you wrong. Sometimes it, you know, it really goes down south, but I know that I'm determined to just be me. And one of the things that I recognize is through my own insecurities is that I tend to do that a lot because I know I've gone through a lot in my own life, and I only wish that people can have less of what I've experienced or none at all. So for me, in all the things that I'm doing is just really trying to pave that safe space and knowing that I'm going to take the brunt. And I'm okay with that because I can hold it as much as I possibly can until I can't. But then I always end up holding it back again because like you had also, some of you had mentioned before, is that we always end up finding our way back and figure out how do we take care of this. I can definitely say that there have been positive parts that have helped, but I tend to feel the negative more. I feel like that's what drives me the most. And being able to express through my art, it's also therapy, and allows me to kind of deal with some of those things that I wouldn't actually be given the opportunity to talk about because people don't make space for it, or it's not important. It's, you know, it's in the past. You know, there's all these things. So I think for myself, that's my biggest driving force, is that no matter what's thrown at me, I'm still standing. You know, we are magical stardust beings. We are rare magical stardust beings. There is no one in this world that can really do what it is that we do, which is to just live through the systems that have been designed to completely eradicate us. But we're still here, times two. You know, our existence is the resistance. So that makes me really proud that I'm able to do that, because I know back in a time, you know, with our Black community, they weren't able to speak. They couldn't even so much as look at an officer. I have no problem telling an officer to go fuck themselves. But, you know, my ancestors paved that way for me to be able to be that strong as a person to do that. And the same thing with my Indigenous communities. So many of our community members were not able to practice certain things, or, you know, their tongue was removed, like their native tongue was removed. And here I am in this modern world being able to speak even a small fraction of it and be proud of it and say, like, and not care about it. So that makes me really, really happy. Let's see where we're at. What is the time? It's 4:44 right now. I'm wondering, like, we could do, did everybody have a chance with the jar so far that we have here? I think so. Does anybody have any thoughts, comments, questions, things that they would like to reflect on? Have you learned something new today? Has it made you more aware of something? Has it made you feel less about the shit that you're doing, and not, does it make you want to give up? Do you feel empowered by our crew here? You don't have to answer all of those, but it's just, you
definitely
know,
empowered.
Yeah.
I think that Lena's back if she wants to answer the question, because I'm interested to hear as well.
Unmute, Mama Lena.
So the question that we're asking right now, or because the catalyst question actually started with Lena, and we got that answer first. Okay,
Okay.
But so now we're having the conversation. Just have a little chit chat about how do you feel about this little session we've had here?
I 100% feel empowered. I feel sorry for some community members now. I feel so empowered that I feel like I'm going to be telling people what I really think and feel. And that's in a positive way, but in a powerfully positive way, right? I've kept my silence for pretty much the whole time I've been here for the last 5-6 years. And you guys have given me courage because of your youth. And I really do. I feel like I have the courage to say the things that need to be said, that's needed to be said for many, many years. The catalyst for me was my dad, because he was a Black man, hearing impaired, and he was a professional boxer. And he overcame a lot of things to get to that position, to be the professional boxer. And then to start his life all over at 45 years old, I don't know, he was a powerhouse in a 5'2" body, just a little man, and he was so powerful. Everywhere he went, it didn't matter if they were KKK, skinhead, Aryan Nation, everywhere he went, he commanded respect. And I believe that is because the way he held himself, and he was non-apologetic, as you guys, as I've been hearing throughout this conversation. He was non-apologetic, and he was very matter-of-fact and strong in his stature. And when he stood there, you had no other recourse but to show him respect, right? And you guys reminded me of that in your voices and the way you're expressing yourselves and the words you're choosing. And I'm like, yeah, where have you been all my life? That's right, you weren't born yet. But I really feel like I'm gonna go down there and just let people know some things about me and my journey and the journey that my kids are gonna take. I think I'm gonna pave a different pavement for them. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate you so much. Kyle, would you like to share?
Yeah, I'm feeling so empowered. I've definitely lived my life as a very quiet and shy person, and like just trying to make everyone as comfortable as possible, but I'm so done with that. And yeah, I'm really feeling super empowered by all of yous here, and very affirmed as well. Like these spaces, I just want to have these conversations all the time. And yeah, these spaces need to be more frequent. And I'm so grateful for all of you sharing so vulnerably and honestly all of your stories and truths. Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate you so much. Aria, would you like to share?
Yeah. I think like there were a few statements that really stuck with me today. One was something that you said, Nenookaasi, this idea of like always being the segue, and like how to derail that, or how to like not take on that labor that like weighs us down or immobilizes us. Another statement that was made was this idea that like our role models were not polite about their oppression. And I think I had forgotten that. Like I feel like I definitely fall into that like agreeable, pleasant, like easy to talk to person of color. And like Kaya, like what you said, I'm done with that. I think we can have constructive conversations while still being to the point about what we want and what we need. And another thing that stuck with me was this idea of like art being a space of reclamation. And I believe that, but I don't think I'd ever put those words to it. So those are my takeaways, along with just feeling really grateful and full and inspired by the voices here. So Walaliak.
Thank you. I really appreciate you too. And Tanisha.
Yes, how I feel about this session is like amazing. Like I'm really, really, really thrilled about the future, and about like just if we can have these more, I'm sure we'll just start making change. Like we'll come back to these sessions like, oh, you know what I did? Well, you know what I did? You know what I did? And then we'll all be like just like making that movement, and just like I just want to see you guys all in person and give you guys big hugs. Like I really just like the energy of today's session is just so amazing. And even that first meeting we had, that was like, I was like, wow. I'm learning so much from each of you guys. Even like the words you're using, like that's not a part of my vocabulary, but that's gonna be. Like you guys are all intelligent, smart, Afro-Indigenous, white, mixed, everything. Like, you guys are amazing, and I'm really proud and happy. I'm honored to be here, and I'm happy that I was even asked to be here. Because at first I was like, I don't know, what am I gonna say? I'm gonna look dumb. I don't know. You know what I mean? I was like, I hope I'm smart enough. But it's not even about being smart. It's about just expressing yourself and having the space to do that, and talking about an experience that only we can talk about. You know what I mean? It's like, whatever your experience is what you bring to the table, and nobody has your experience but you, but there are commonalities amongst us all. So like, and I feel like I have some questions to ask some organizations, not saying names, but about what are we doing? Like, let's go, let's pick it up. Like, and I'm just like settling for what they say they're gonna do, rather than, okay, no, we can do it like this. We need to put more effort, and I need you and you and you and you to assist. Instead of, Tanisha, can you assist with this? Can you assist? No, can you assist me? Because we have a job to do, right? And that's how I'm feeling. And my hope, I'm gonna talk to you guys, I'm calling you guys before I go in that meeting. But yeah, I'm just really, really thrilled and happy to be here. Thank you so much for empowering each other and me.
Yeah, I second a whole lot of that, all of that, not even a whole lot, just all of that, everything that's been said so far. Shanese, your turn.
Yeah, I feel like everyone said everything that I'm feeling. Like, I'm just like, for me, I just feel like I just feel more powerful. Like, you know, like, I feel like now, like, I can stand even more in my power, right? Like, after this conversation and listening to all of you, that I'm just like, shit, we powerful. Like, it's just really that. And I'm just like so thankful for this space and to be able to have this conversation and be reminded again that, like, I'm not alone. You know, I feel like it's so easy to really get into that mindset of like, I'm alone, there's no one else who understands what I'm going through. I'm also a Virgo, so like the self-doubt is a constant thing. So but it's just great to be in this space with everybody, and yeah, I'm just very appreciative, for sure.
Thank you so much for that. I just put in the group chat if y'all want to share like your Instagrams or any of your medias, ways that we can stay connected with each other. That'd be absolutely awesome. If we're not already following each other, we will be in a moment. So for me, this has just been everything revolutionary, period. The end. We're done now. Just kidding. So I think how I would like to be able to close this out is to share a piece of my art. Earlier this year, a song came to me. It's called AI Rising, Afro-Indigenous Rising. And I had put a call out to folks who identify as Afro-Indigenous and asked them to submit a picture of what some of you folks here are in this video, but just to share a photo that makes you feel proud to be who you are. So if we can get that video rolling, enjoy. And this is all Can everyone still hear it? So that is the jam. And I just wanted to leave this off with just love and power and praise. And you are all amazing. I love you. I see you. I hear you. I feel you. I am with you. We are kin. We are united. And just always know that there is nothing like you, and just stand proud in all of that, however you choose to.